People will say that God can't be the Father and the Son as in one individual. The one individual, Jesus, can't be that, can't actually exist as one individual because they'll give examples of the prayer. And yet we know Jesus is our friend and he's also our brother. He said, no greater love has any man than that he should give his life for his friends. And in Hebrews 2:11 calls Jesus our brother. And also, God is our friend. He was a friend of Abraham. And we are of the seed of Abraham through faith. And I would just say it's as though the king came here in disguise. And some people even think, well, that doesn't seem right. In disguise, that seems deceptive. That seems dishonest. But it's not dishonest. It's hiding something. I think that is true. He hides things in plain sight because anyone who saw it wasn't told they were wrong. They weren't told they couldn't see it. But when a devil saw who he was, he would tell them to shut up, and they would. When people knew who he was, he said, don't tell anyone. Some did, and some didn't, which I think is kind of funny. The devils wouldn't tell on him, but some of the people would. The disciples didn't. When Peter identified him, he said, don't tell anyone who I am, and they didn't. But he opened somebody's blind eyes or cured a leper, and he says, don't tell anyone who I am. Just go to the priest in your hometown and exercise the rites for purification. I think it was one of them. And then it says the man immediately went and told of him, and his fame increased because they disobeyed. I just thought that was a little funny side note. But clearly, Jesus is our friend and our brother. So there's no problem with that. I think most people would not deny that. And I just want to suggest that it makes just as much sense for him to say, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. And he simply means, if you read between the lines, if you've seen me for who I am, you've seen the Father. And some people did and some people didn't, because obviously many people saw him, and they just saw him as someone they wanted to kill, and so they did, which gives even greater glory to him because he would let them do that knowing who he was, because he really knew who he was, and he knew no one could take that away, and he wants to give that to us. He wants us to know that we are his children in a way that we won't fear anything. Like he didn't fear anything because he knew no one could take that away from him. They could lie, they could spit on him, they could crucify him, knowing he could just call down angels and lightning and everything and destroy all that, reverse that, and stop that. But just because he let them do that didn't mean he wasn't who he was. And just because people laugh at or mock us doesn't mean we're not who we are. We are children of God, the Most High, Jesus Christ, our Father. In Jesus' name, amen.